So you could say that most of us live in social construct without knowing about it because, for example, school is a social construct, job is a social construct, even marriage itself is a social construct to maintain assets and take care of kids. Taxes. So social construct is something that you and I are living inside of, and we think that's the way it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it requires probably repetition. You've heard it more than once. You've heard people say it. It requires agreement. So people have said it, and there was agreement. So you heard it. Then you probably got some evidence for it, right?
Physical structure, usually.
Right. And so you could have more evidence against it, but because you heard something, then you saw the evidence, you're more likely to lean to what you heard in that repetitive sense. So that's kind of how they can be born. They require multiple people to uphold these agreements.
Mm-hmm.
They're not necessarily true. I think that's the key, right? The thing is, business can be hard. You could build it in a way that is very challenging for you to run it, where you're poor. You could build it that way, and you could fulfill that prophecy, but it's not necessarily so.
The interesting thing is
Right,
that they start to
business runs on
become true
momentum.
over time if people
Yeah.
buy into it. So I remember years ago I visited a country and people didn't really have a concept of retirement at that point. Yeah, people got older. Okay, so they slow down, they work less, but they still work until they die, or they serve some sort of function, unless they're unable to. And then several years later, more than several years later, but either way, years later, when I went back, there were all these billboards promoting retirement plans, retire by this age. So at some point, that was a society where there was no social construct for retirement. Their social construct was something else. And then someone or some people or some businesses or groups started introducing the idea of retirement, that, hey, you can save some money and then at some point just stop working. You can watch more video clips on YouTube or listen to the whole episode on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts.